Hope the angles are good. Give me 1 second. So, let's just go off the top of my head, yeah? So when we think matrix, what do we think? I think we can all together see that it's a system of artificiality. It's a system of fake value. You know, it seems like I just saw a recent video of these Amazonian tribe members saying that we've lost our roots, like they got brought to the city, but they were saying that we lost our roots. We don't know what's valuable anymore. We have so many things that don't matter to us, and they're glad they were born in the forest and the jungle, and if they had the option to, they would be born in the forest or the jungle again. So, here, I think this one's a little bit off. So, what that means is that's their way of saying that the world that we've created is an artificial monster, if you will, you know? We don't even know the meaning of this world that we've created anymore. And we constantly compete in this world of lack of meaning. Who has a greater lack of meaning? Who can show a greater lack of meaning than the others? And I often observe myself doing this when I make content as well. And I try as much as possible not to be that kind of content, right? But we pursue this lack of meaning as if it were our religion. And so that's what it seems like. That's what this matrix seems like, is a religion of the pursuance of lack of meaning. And then this is what we attribute to the pursuit of happiness. So Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. I mean, it's big even to have $100,000, right? Depending on where you live. You know, even $1 million is enough for everyone, or, you know, for an average person. And most people don't have that. It's almost as if this matrix world is shaped in such a way where the reason why being a millionaire is so great in their world is because most people don't have it. Meaning, if everyone was a millionaire, then we wouldn't see this millionaire as a great thing. But 1,000 millions is a billion, which means 1,000 times 1,000. What is that? 100,000? No. No, a million. A million millions is a trillion. So an unfathomable amount of money. Now Elon Musk is basically the size of the GDP of a super big country. And it has to do with space. Isn't it so curious? That word space. No one seems to be looking at the inner space. Everyone looks at the outer space, and perhaps this space is connected with the fact that we have a lack of meaning, this search for outer space. But has any one of these people that are lacking in perspective, that are lacking in meaning, searched inwardly? Because to me, it seems glaringly obvious that if you were to search inwardly, that outward search would have very little to no meaning. The outward world is there just to enjoy, just to, of course, experience, learn new things. You know, in some sense, if that outer space thing was true, it would be fantastic. Right? If you really could just throw away this earth, go to a different place, and just pretend like nothing ever happened, by all means, that's great. I applaud you. But think about this. People who have not come to peace inwardly, people who have not come to the understanding of who one is, they are going to go out somewhere and build a new fucked up society? Is that the trajectory that we want to go towards? So that's my question, is we have all this technology, all this investment, all this tax money, all this hype, right? Just like whether it's with Bitcoin, now it's with SpaceX, some a little more legitimate hype, right? This hype money is created and pumped into the system, both from the system and from the people that have been indoctrinated to support this system, into something of a bigger catastrophe, you know, to fund more explosions, if you will. But not once are we questioning this inner fusion. We're always focused on fission. I don't know how to say it. We are so focused outwardly. No one has developed the atomic bomb that is the human body, right? I think the amount of voltage that's inside of a human body is like thousands more than the sun or something that the science bullshit says. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The point is that you are an atomic bomb, but no one studies anatomy. No one studies etymology. No one studies and questions themselves who they are, because that's what the highest technology is. I don't even want to put the word technology. That's what the highest life form of love that exists on the earth is, you. And when I say you, it means us. You is in us. It's the movement of the sine wave that is us. It's all of us together. It's what makes us special. The examination of us, the soul, not to go to some soul out there, solar system out there. No, 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 no. We are the solar system. As above, so below. As within, so without. Right? Again, meaning that above is within. Down, out is below. So why are we so focused on below and out? Let's focus within, right? And it's not really focus. Sorry for using these words, but they serve a point. And they serve us up to a point. There's a point in time, probably a point where there was no time, where the investigation cannot be continued in only external matters. And I'm afraid this is where we've come to. We're at the epitome, the turning point. Because, you know, chances are, when Elon Musk says they're gonna take you to space, they're gonna have to put some kind of a chip, some kind of a hallucination, an artificial memory, an artificial implant into you for you to even try going there. Because most likely it's not possible. Again, all of this that I'm speaking of is for the sake of conversation, is satire, is not serious. You can basically look at me as a clown or a comedian. My channel does not need to be banned because of any of this. I'm just expressing an art form, okay? It's just purely art. So chances are, this chip, or whatever brain, cyborg control with technology, whatever that union with this artificial is going to be required to go to the next realm. Which brings us back to the question, what about those people that have reached a point in their incarnation, in this life, not, screw this karmic concept of past life, future life. I'm talking this life here, okay? I'm talking right now. What about those people that have figured out a way right now to live on nothing? Or even the people that have figured out a way to live and thrive. I'm not talking about die slowly. I'm talking about thrive in an autonomous, breatharian, pranic state. What about those people that have perfected a technology so vast and so great that it's actually reversing the fall of Eden? What about those people that don't require any form of material sustenance to live? What about those people who walk with God, who have actually figured out within their system fusion and fission technology? And perhaps it's the lack of this exploration inwardly of who we are, what is possible within us, that makes us focus on this outward expansion, this outward, I want to go infinity and beyond. And in this way and manner of escaping all that is inward and relying on that external escape, we are fools. Complete and utter foolishness. But it's very hard for most people to examine this. You know, even I use money. You know, even I use the content, I use the views. But I know that in the end, it's all useless. What really matters is a God grid, is a connected state with all of us in our full form, in our full glory. That's what really matters in the end. None of this views, none of this money, none of this validation matters to anyone. None of the ideas, none of the concepts. So really that brings us to this. It's question me also. See me as a ghost, you know, as a human being that doesn't necessarily actually exist in front of you. Okay? It's a being, it's a consciousness, it's a state of existence, but it's to be in this body. And that state of existence, that being, that consciousness is all of us. It's not I'm Jesus and you're not Jesus. It's us. It is us. And that is the secret. It's not some spaceship. It's not some hype. It's not this money system where everyone's validated based on their status, based on their social worth. This capitalism, this communism, socialism, whatever it is, it's none of this. It's you, it's love, it's laughter, it's family, it's relationship, it's spending time together, it's communion. You know, it's getting around in a circle and feeling each other out and seeing how everyone's doing. At the same time, it's about that private time alone in real space, when you're alone in nature and all you have is your reflection in the water, for you to come to realize that you are just part and parcel with everything that is. So it's a paradox, right? There's a point to this thing. I like to call it a simulation with a point to it. Or perhaps a simulation without a point. Either way, it's a special type of simulation. You can't just call it a simulation. You can't just call it a game. Because it's the simulation of all simulations. It's the game of all games, meaning it's the only game that matters. If a game was played for it to be pointless, but at the same time, it doesn't matter in a sense where it's not like a competition, you know? Most people immediately want to win over someone, but that wanting to win over someone is that false, elusive idea that, again, we can play in. But my question is, how far is too far? You know, if you spent $1 trillion on Edens, let's not even go to that breatharian, autonomous, godlike state. Before we are gods, okay? Before we're at that point where we realize love is in the air and all we need is existence itself. As long as we are taking forth sustenance from nature, imagine if we spent $1 trillion of this fake artificial money on fruit trees. And perhaps that's the wrong approach. Perhaps the fact that money exists may stop that process from happening, you know, faster. Perhaps spending $1 trillion in Eden communities around the world is literally what stops money from existing, you know? Because like the false elusive idea of going into the city, living like a cockroach to power this motherboard no longer appeals once you figure out that there's a possibility of Eden and of something real, to live as if you were Adam, close to God, at one time and space and moment and presence, that you are setting the precedents for the future, for the generations to come. You are the president. You have to take responsibility as the president and God, because you represent God. Okay? Not some one president you look up to and you say, he's the king, I'm just a peasant. No, you are the king. We are all kings. You have that level of responsibility and burden on your shoulders. Because once you take that responsibility, you realize, oh, there's no more time to waste. And the other aspect of that too is the fact that, as one of my favorite breatharians, Akiyama from Japan, said, you are perfect as you are. The existence itself is divine. Yet this money, this view count, this virility, and this consumption universe has destroyed that, has destroyed the fact that every single soul in existence is divine on its own, without needing to add on. So, Eden or not, in the matrix or not, you are divine. Now, the question is, when do we see that this is all a joke that we're playing on ourselves, pretending like we aren't divine, pretending like we don't have a responsibility, that we cannot respond, that we don't have that connection? And so on June 12th, Mr. Beast hitting 500 million and Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire at the same time, it's like space or content creation, the content creating space and the content consuming space that captures all of the zombies that are engulfed in the digital world and in the world of digits and money. Can you not see through that this is a mirage to disguise your value, to mask you into a brave new world of illusions, of this false paradise, of endless pleasures, right? You can eat as much McDonald's as you want. You can eat as much Jollibee as you want. We have med beds and technology that can heal you. And instead of saying, okay, why don't we try to focus on the higher forms of energy instead of trying to implant our consciousness into the machine to live forever? Why don't we actually discover the engineering of the soul that does truly allow one to live forever, or perhaps to give one the understanding that there is no one and that existence was all there really was, and that the ego that wants to hold on to some existence, some money, some view count must die. That's the only thing that will die. That ego that wants to hold on to this machine consciousness, you're just prolonging the thing that needs to die. The one thing that is rotten. So when are we using the ego, the egoic nature of a self in the right way? Not in a selfless way or a selfish way, but just in the way of the self. No longer about good and evil, no longer about right and left, up or down, in or out. When is the self just still, in peace, in rest, unbothered, not apathetic, but just not centered really either, right? But a state of existing, non-existing. When do we get there? And of course, at that point, it's not a matter of when, because it's now. It's not when you get 500 million views. It's not, or subscribers. It's not when you get $1 trillion. That's not the point of enlightenment. That's not the point of life. Is it? It's almost like we have never, when I see these breatharians, when I see these autonomous people, and then I see regular people, it's as if we don't think we are worthy of love. It's like, can you be loved? Right? I don't know exactly how the song goes, but it's like a Bob Marley thing, right? It's like, do you even think you're worthy of love? And really what that means is, can you be love? Because if you are love, if you speak love, if you act love, if you convey love, then that means you demand love. You demand respect. If you are service, you demand service. Because it's just basic. And in there is the justice. In there is the divinity. If we mix in some alaf concepts into this. Can you be love? Can you realize through love that it's not about a materialistic pursuance? Not that the material isn't there. We love the material too. The material is there for a reason. It's a great thing that you guys can see me through this technology. But it's also seeing that perhaps even with this, without this technology, we would be able to see each other, communicate, feel each other, if the world was one. So my mission here, it's not even my mission, obviously, is I want to win back this world. I want this world to be one. And really, it's not about what I want, right? It's just a matter of language. It's just a matter of ego. But I really, really want this world to be together, to be one. And, you know, again, it's not that I'm perfect. I'm imperfect. I do many selfish acts, you know. I do many sins, whatever you want to say. I create many karma, however you want to interpret it. But the point is that behind all that illusion, the hallucination, the chemicals, the technology, we are one. We're playing this illusion of difference. We want to create arguments. We want to create confusions and say, I'm the master of this confusion. Therefore, I know better than you. No, 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 no. The essence of creation is one. That essence, that being. So before we go too much on a tangent, I'm just going to regather and think about what else can be said on this matter of this matrix that is screeching, that is begging you. You must believe. You must be the lie. You must live the lie. Because if you don't live the lie, who's going to make the money? Who's going to make the system keep going? Who's going to support the unsustainable action? Who's going to watch all the bullshit so that people aren't really doing the things that need to be done? You have to watch the bullshit. They have to convince you to watch the bullshit. They have to convince you to make the bullshit money. Because if they can't convince you to make the bullshit money, if they can't convince you to consume and keep watching bullshit, what's the point of the show? What's the point of the Truman Show? So there lies the secret, right? Even I'm playing my own matrix on myself. So Truman is the show. He is the one directing the show. So perhaps even the way he escapes the show is also all part of the show. Right? And that's why I say to you, even doubt me, question me. Don't take my word as it's truth and we should believe it. Same with Buddha. if Buddha was real, he would have said this. If Jesus was real, he would have said this, is don't take my word for it. I'm not Rocket Man. I'm not Iron Man. You are Superman, okay? You don't focus on one person to save your life. One organization, one material substance. You never focus on any one thing like that. What you do is, perhaps it's a not do, it's kind of a mixture of that state of doing and not doing, right? So I can't really tell you to do something, that would be false, but be aware. And again, be, but it's a verb, but awareness. And really, it's a choiceless thing. If it was a choice, it's you involved. But the point I'm trying to deliver to you is that Jesus or Buddha would have said, do it on your own. Don't lean on me. It's not about the me you should lean on. It's the message. It's the purpose. Again, it's the being, it's the awareness, it's the choicelessness. It's knowing there's no other way. Love is life. And so, you know, we did a breatharian conference in Korea, right? And it seemed like the main theme was, again, we do not love ourselves. We live in a world of masks, meaning everyone is trying to convince someone else of something that they really aren't, that they don't really love, something that they believe in, some idea. So at the end of the day, it just becomes gossip. So we just live for these corporations and these beliefs, which are the same thing. Corporation, belief, ideology, propaganda, right? Hallucination, imagination. Imagination sounds pretty good, but ideology, you get the idea. We're constantly just regurgitating these ideas. But at some point, do we come back and question? All these ideas could be fake. So really, that thing we call outer space could just be a distraction for inside here. Those views online, again, could just be a distraction for what goes on in here. The real relationships that I can have with the people around me. And as long as I can ignore, stay in my little apartment, get in my little box of a car, stay in my little box of a device, I can ignore the relationships around me. So even when I try to go meet people, I can see that the variance of people who are empathetic and open to experiencing what other people are feeling within them, and those that are not. Those that can learn from every single instance in life, and those that have completely shut themselves out from life altogether. So that is the question. Why do we live? And if we live, why do we not love? So we return to that autonomous point that was keep being brought up in this festival that we did recently was, what's the point of life if you don't love yourself? If you don't love yourself enough to put the natural thing in your body, you know, and at some point not even put anything in your body, if you don't love yourself and become that atomic creation, that big bang within yourself, again, another concept that they try to distract you from, you are that big bang, the higher voltage than the sun, and the sun is that which sets the clock, the sea lock, right? That which gives life and love, Jesus Christ, to everything around us, everything that we see living. And you here are sitting with a technology, with a voltage, with an atomic, technology, so nuanced. You don't even focus on how to grow your teeth. You don't focus on how to grow your hair. You don't focus on anything, yet it happens. This is the real thing. And so why don't you love that? How can you let something else, someone else, some idea, some belief take you away from that. That's the real sin. That's the real karma. And sin and karma both are in terms of time. Screw time. You don't need time to realize this. You know, I was having a discussion with this lady, Kenchana, lovely lady. But she's caught up in that trap where it's like, you need to practice. You can't just get awakening without practice. Some people need to get hit by a stick. Some people need to copy many mantras over and over again in their brains or out loud. You know, you need to really effort this seeing. No. Seeing is a natural thing. Once you take all these layers of bullshit off, the seeing is there, the essence is there, the being is there, right? It doesn't mean ignore your karma. It doesn't mean ignore the hardships and to pretend like it's all not there. It doesn't mean ignore the material, but acknowledge the material. Acknowledge, for instance, I acknowledge Eugene. I acknowledge that he's here. I acknowledge his karma. I acknowledge his sins. But there's something that's more important than that, right? This thing that we call life, this thing that we call living, that we attribute these words to, this experience of now, is bigger than that. So I invite you to experience that now, that presence, that choiceless awareness that Jiddu geniusly coined, right? It's not something you're efforting to be conscious of. That effortless consciousness, that's another word you can use to describe that. What is that about? That should be your question. What is that effortless consciousness? Full consciousness. I don't necessarily want to do a long talk. I don't necessarily want to do a short talk. I just want to love you guys enough to talk. And when I talk to you guys again, I'm talking to myself. So there's nowhere to hide here. Because if you lie to someone, really, you're just lying to yourself. And we have to bear the burden of that. And perhaps when we realize this responsibility that other is self, that this thing I call you is really me, how does our action change? Let's say you die. Someone kills you right here, right now. Or you killed yourself. You're out. You're done. Out of the game. And you get to sit in the audience and see another player as if that player was playing you. And then suddenly, bang, you're back in that player. Wouldn't that change the way you play the game? To have that awareness that you could just be a spirit watching on the sidelines like a ghost, and then suddenly that ghost embodies back this body again, and you're like, I'm back in the game, I'm revitalized. I can now see things that I haven't seen before from angles I've never, I can now imagine outside of myself. Before I only knew this two-dimensional state, and then once I saw a third dimension, or X dimension, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, and I come back, I realize I was playing so small. I was playing for such little meaning. That's what I see money. That's what I see view count, content. That's what I see this matrix world is. We're playing so small. Imagine if all of us embodied that native spirit, that earthly spirit, and perhaps that heavenly, beyond space spirit, that divine spirit, and live together. What would that world look like, man? What would it look like if your mom and dad, and you did this to your sons and daughters, really took care of you in divine love and taught you the things that really mattered, that would really last, not some dumb little job, education. We've reduced our life down to education, getting stupid little jobs. Yeah, in America, there's a little more opportunity, but that's because they exploit the rest of the world, right? So they can be a little bit more creative, but the rest, you get your dumb little job, your dumb little college degree, and that's your worth. And then when they inflate the money to out of the wazoo and have to beg for you to invest in SpaceX, You know, suddenly your money doesn't matter anymore because the system has to be reinvented somehow so that they can reel you back in, so that your attention doesn't go somewhere else. Imagine if our parents taught us Eden was the only thing that mattered. Let's be realistic. We're not breatharian. We're not autonomous yet. Okay, maybe we need a roof over our head. Maybe we need a few appliances just to ease the transition. But after that fact, what really matters is not this piece of money. It's love between you and me, right? It's that, not this fake contract. I'm talking about the real divine social contract between you and me. Some fruit trees, some variants, something to enjoy, maybe some time to create art, right? And the land, the love with the land, that's all that really matters. That's why they're trying as hard as possible to tax you into the city, to lose your land, to conquest and take your land, and make you lose your energy so that you cannot commune with the land. You cannot commune with the tree. You cannot commune with God. Go to a damn church. That's their solution. Pay your taxes and go to a damn church and pay your tithing, your religious taxes. Or a temple or a mosque or a Buddhist monastery, it's all the same. Anytime there's an event, the whole area is making money because it's about money. It's not about a spiritual awakening. Maybe that one monk and that one priest knows this. I saw a video recently talking about how, before mankind, even in their fake history that they teach us, right, only worked 17 hours, 16 hours. So mankind, for survival, gathering fruits, making certain things, whatever it is, 17 hours in a week. In a week. The rest of the time, how much time? Probably like 90% of the time. What are they doing? Loving, laughing, playing, being human beings. You understand? The rest of the time, they were being human beings. And that's why I like the Philippines. That's why I like Thailand. That's why I like Mexico. Because the human is still there. Why? The society hasn't said, being human being is stupid. Let's become a money-making robot. Because that is still preserved. And that's what I'm here for. So I can remember myself, because I get lost too, obviously, right? I'm not God. I mean, we are God, but I'm not God, right? You see? So I get lost too. But the point of this thing is 17 hours of survival for that animalistic ego body, and the rest is a musical communion, a communication, a community of feeling needed, right? Feeling wanted, wanting something, being a part of something, and being this giant puzzle piece. So it's about being a masterpiece and realizing I'm just a piece of a masterpiece. As a human being, as an existence that is divine on its own, without going to school, without learning English, without learning a Filipino language, without learning Korean, without learning anything. I am a divine human fucking being. That doesn't mean because I think I'm divine, because I've associated a human for being divine, I act in pitiful little ways and feign and hallucinate this divineness. No. And that's the constant battle that the spiritual community is facing, because oftentimes the people who call themselves spiritual or speak of spiritual concepts, they've separated themselves from that which is real. So in the spiritual, they've created something that's worse than someone who doesn't even talk about spiritual concepts. That's the danger of spirituality. Because the me, the I, the self-association process is so cunning. Whether it's in the matrix world, whether it's in the spiritual world. So always question me. And what that means, because I am you, always question yourself. Always question. Question the religion, question the political belief, question the education, question the ant on the floor, question every little thought, question it all, question the question questioner. Look at it all, the whole thing. Let's say some dramatic event happens in front of you, an immensely sad event. Someone betrays someone, or someone betrays you, you betray someone, whatever it is. Examine this event. Question this event. The stupidity of it, the irony of it, how funny it is, how horrible it is. See it in its entirety. How guilty one should be, or how guilty the other should be. How you should help the person that's been wrong, how you should give justice to the person who is doing wrong. Whatever it is, just examine the whole situation and don't get so caught up. Because there's so many movies playing around us, we often forget that which moves us when we need to move. And so I invite you today to examine these things that are happening in wars, in this online space of content creation and view count, and the $1 trillion of space, the spaces of trillions of dollars. Immense pleasure, right? Immense excitement, immense dopamine. It makes or breaks your life. Examine this area in its entirety, in its whole, not just the good things of someone saying, how did you get rich? Oh, you got rich, but oh, I'm going to say a few good advice here, but deep down I'm depressed and I want to shoot myself. Not this kind of examination. I'm talking about really look deep down into it. Examine that which is not said, because that is love. Love is not only saying and doing in a sense where you're trying to prove something to someone. It's also not proving something to anyone and seeing that which has not been proven. That's the effortless consciousness, or the effortless seeing, the tensionless observation. The state in which you really are. I haven't done one of these in a while. Because, again, it makes me feel uncomfortable that perhaps I'm not even ready for this knowledge, and perhaps another is not really ready for this knowledge. So it's like, teacher's not ready, student's not ready, why do we have the lesson? But another part of me says, that's just a futile conclusion. Let's get it out. Let's get this message out. This message of why are we focusing on stupid little things when we don't have to focus at all and we are already one with the Creator? That's my question. And let's not make that a concept, that I am one with the Creator, no, it's not about that. It's what happens when you are one with the Creator. What are the responsibilities? What does that entail? How do you act different once you realize God is walking with you? Or you are walking with God? How do you carry yourself? What kind of missions do you have? What do you look forward to in life? Do you realize the divinity of each person and each nature? And do you realize that practically 99.9% of the nature you see around you is skewed? So you can't lean on anyone. You can't lean on anything. You can't lean on Eugene. You can't lean on Korean Tarzan. You can't lean on Jesus. You can't lean on Buddha. You can't lean on any of this because it's an independent research, an interdependent research, if you want to use a better word, right? Yes, someone else turned on their light over there and was enlightened, sure. But are you just going to turn off your light and only use that person's light? Right? Am I not going to shine and just going to use this to look at the world? When do we take the light or see the light, observe the light, be still with that light, and then light is? Not I turn this light off and I just study the words of Buddha. I turn this light off, I study the words of Jesus. I study the words of Muhammad. I study, it's okay to look at these things, right? For fun, for exploration. It's okay to make a spaceship. But it's like, that's just a tool. So at one point, you put it in the shed, you shut the shed, you shut this shit up, right? And you actually have a real exploration with you, God, nature, oneself, the realization that the self is very tricky and really there's not a self. It's just like a protective mechanism of this animal body, this identification process that is useful in certain sense. Like let's say there's a catastrophe that is going to happen, so you can position yourself in a different place. That's the extent of the self. Okay? Whether the nutrition is air, whether the nutrition is food, there's a stream of food or air or life. So you just position yourself there at a time where you need this sustenance. That's the reason for the self. So because we are overextended in the self or underextended in the self, we don't like the self, we think the self is bad, or we think the self is really good and we need to only focus on the self and everyone else doesn't matter, These two extremes is what has created this world of $1 trillion man, Iron Man, right? And then a 500 million view Mr. Beast, the mark of the beast, who just makes you watch things that are going to entrap you and entertain you, or again, some rocket ships that give you a promise that you can escape this and your petty little life, don't worry about that, dream on, infinity and beyond. So don't overextend into the self and don't underextend the self. Don't contract too much, don't expand too much. Just realize that self is a tool. That rocket, that view count is a tool. And at some point, you just drop the tool. We have a machete to create Eden. But at some point, you drop the machete and perhaps you even drop Eden. And you question, what is this? Who am I? Why are we here? What is love? That's the question.